Hi, I'm Dorothy Johns. Welcome to the Bruce Street Stable.
Thank you, Miss Dorothy. I'm Johns Hopkins with Baltimore Heritage, and clearly this video is going to be different and special from the other videos we've done in the past. Today we're going to talk about the Bruce Street A-rabber stable, and I'm going to let Miss Dorothy talk most of it, but I'd like to say a few words about A-rabbing in Baltimore before turning it over. If you don't know what A-rabbing is, A-rabbers are merchants who ply the streets of the city and the various neighborhoods selling their goods. Today it's mostly fruits and vegetables, but over the years it's been everything from rugs and linens. In the summertime it was ice, in the wintertime it was coal maybe for your furnace. So really sort of traveling stores of all sorts. We have to start by talking about the word A-rabber. A-rabber has its origins, they're a little murky, but we know that probably came from 19th century England. In London and other cities in the 1800s, in the middle of the 1800s, there were people, mostly kids, mostly homeless, who were out selling small things, really anything that they could get a hold of. And they were called variously street Arabs or city Arabs. And that was certainly a derogatory term full of both racist and classist overtones. Here in Baltimore, we've had peddlers for centuries, and we took that term from Europe and we changed the pronunciation. We say Arab, not Arab. I guess if you're British, maybe we butchered the pronunciation. If you're everybody else, we dramatically improved it. And we stripped it of its derogatory terms. And so today's A-rabbers are part of a long tradition in the African American community, in Baltimore's African American community, and the term A-rab and A-rabber are proudly a central part of it. All right, so we have had street peddlers for years and years, but really A-rabbing came into its own in the late 1800s and the early 1900s. And that's when two things sort of converged. One was we had a load of immigrants, a lot of immigrants from Europe coming over, and a load of new folks from the South, African Americans moving northward from southern states. So we had a lot of people. A number of them got jobs in industries like canning and in the mills, but a number of them took out as peddlers, maybe taking control of their own work, maybe because they couldn't get a job in one of the industries, maybe a combination of both. So that was the first thing. The second thing was, about that time, we were awash in fruits and vegetables and goods of every sort. On a daily basis, maybe an hourly basis, boats would come over from the eastern shore with tomatoes and corn and produce. Ships would come in from the tropics with more exotic fruits like bananas and oranges. And then trains eventually were coming in with all sorts of stuff from the Midwest and the rest of the United States. And all of that got put on wagons and drawn through the streets by horses with the A-rabbers. At first, there were Baltimoreans of both black Baltimoreans and white Baltimoreans were A-rabbers, but that changed about World War II. In World War II, the war industry provided a lot of jobs, a lot of good paying jobs, and a lot of jobs that were open only to white Baltimoreans. A number of the white A-rabbers sort of left behind their horses and carts and took jobs in the war industry. A number of black Baltimore A-rabbers did not, again, whether they weren't eligible for the jobs because of the color of their skin, or they wanted to continue to be their own boss. But after the war, the white A-rabbers really didn't go back to it. And so that's when A-rabbing in Baltimore really became a central African-American tradition and heritage. Other cities, for sure, had street peddlers, even street peddlers with horses and carts, but the term A-rabber is really unique to Baltimore. We can't find it used anywhere else. So we proudly claim it as a unique Baltimore part of our tradition and our heritage. A few more things. Baltimore City has had a sort of a mixed relationship with A-rabbing. As early as the 1820s, the city adopted a licensing tax on what they called hucksters to try to control what they thought was an unruly bunch. Over the years, the city adopted other various taxes and levies to try to eke out some revenue and maybe control this group. In the 1960s, the city adopted an ordinance that prohibited stables from being located in neighborhoods, really trying to put the A-rabbers out of business. They considered stables not just a nuisance, but really a cause of urban decay. The ordinance was really pretty unclear. The inspectors couldn't figure out where the stables were. I am pretty sure the neighbors didn't help them out at all on that front. And then after a few years, the inspectors and the city more or less gave up. And so we still have A-rabbing today. Even though the city gave up on the ordinance, they did not give up on urban renewal. In the 1960s and 70s were really tough on A-rabber stables as the city helped pave the way for urban clearance projects in what they called slums to make way for hopeful future development. By 1980, we had gone from dozens of stables down to just 15. Today, we have just a handful of stables left and a handful of A-rabbers. I'm going to close with two things. I would be remiss if I didn't note that we are standing here at the Bruce Street stable, owned by Miss Dorothy. And it dates, my colleague Molly has done some wonderful research, it dates to at least 1898, so about 125 years old at least. And I'm smiling today because it is impossible not to smile out here with the horses, the community that's outside, and really Dorothy Johns, whose enthusiasm and passion for her horses and her tradition is infectious. My final words are that this is Women's History Month, and I would be remiss if I didn't note that Dorothy Johns is the only female owner of an A-rabber stable. And not only that, her grandmother, Mildred Allen, was the first woman to own an A-rabber stable. So she comes from a long line of A-rabbers and is carrying on that tradition in a way that is making me smile even more. With that, we're going to turn it back over to you, Miss Dorothy, and maybe to share a little bit about what you do here.
Hi, this is Macy. This is one of our A-rabber horses. Of course, she hasn't been doing much because of the winter, and she hasn't seen me in a while, so she's giving me the... she's showing that she hasn't seen me. Macy, come on. Okay, my grandmother, Mildred Allen, first African-American female A-rabber to Baltimore. When she came over, the amazing thing about her was she came here from Bassett, Virginia, and then brought a bunch of family members with her that could drive a team of 4, a team of 2 or whatever, and they all, she gave them all jobs, and they are coming up north, as you said earlier. And I'm gonna say grandma, that's what I call the Mildred Allen. So grandma would, when she came up, she brought her children with her. She had 9, and 7 of them was boys, of course, and so she put them out to work. You have to do something, So they helped her get it started. She had opened a storefront, gathered money, made money, and that's when she started buying the horses so that she could put the A-rabbers out there. Grandma was a unique lady because she was strong-willed, and she said what she meant and meant what she said, and I think that's what made it work for her. She had the stable up on Calhoun Street behind Waco Street where it was the ice house there, and that's where most of the black guys set out when waiting for stuff to come in. My grandmother could drive a team of 4, and she would go down to Light Street, back that wagon up there and get all the watermelons and bring them uptown herself. She was really good. She was good at it. But, and all of the people still in the neighborhood today knows Mildred Allen for what she did for family members and so on. After that, she turned it over to the sons after she got up some age, and it's her hard life. Because grandma kind of backed out when she was in her 60s. But I'm sure it wasn't easy for her, black woman, doing all of this and then trying to get things up and running. I'm sure it was no easy task, because even me staying in the game, it's not easy. So it is an easy thing. But she did a great job, I think, doing what she did, what she knew how to do. And it's something we always joke about in the family. They were saying, the show, the Beverly Hillbillies, and my cousin always said that's how they came up, hanging off the side of the truck, sitting all over it, but she brought them north. She brought them north so that she could get started, and she did a great job, I think. She did a great job.
Thanks, Miss Dorothy, and thanks for hosting us here this afternoon. I'm going to wrap up with just two quick things. One is that what we did not talk about today was the art and the artistry and the pageantry and the songs of the A-rabber tradition. I think we're going to have to come back and do a whole nother video on that. And the second is, if you noticed a little commotion and some workers behind me, that's because we're in a construction zone. We at Baltimore Heritage are proud to be partners with Dorothy and with the Southeast Community Organization, as well as the Maryland Department of Housing and Community Development, to stabilize this 125-year-old building and make sure that it lasts for another couple generations. Thanks so much, and we'll see you next time.